Banks don't pay all clients the same deposit rates. This is extremely important for you to understand because if you're looking to optimize your money, that means you're looking to get the best rate on your deposits. And understanding what I'm going to teach you in this video is going to allow you to be able to go in on the next business day, walk into your bank, and demand a better rate if you fit the bill. So, I want to give you some context on how banks decide who they're going to pay what level of interest rates on their savings and deposits. And this information is going to empower you, as I said, to be able to optimize your money. You want to make sure every single dollar you funnel through a bank is doing something beneficial for you and not just a financial institution. For those of you who don't know, I'm JP, the founder and architect of the channel. I happen to be a relationship banker and a small business banker by trade. At the time of this recording, collectively in banking and financial services for over 14 years, currently managing a book of business of about $25 million in client relationships between consumers and small businesses. So you're getting this information from somebody who literally does this on a day in and day out basis. Not financial advice because I'm technically not your banker, though I am licensed. So I want you to do your own due diligence. But that having been said, I'm going to give you a lot of crucial information in this relatively short video that you'll be able to use to help improve your deposit rates, which can make the difference in anywhere from 3 to 4, in some cases 5 figures a year, depending on your banking relationships at your respective institutions. So let's peel the layers back real quick on this. Essentially, we have our deposit relationships with our given bank or banks. We go in, we set these relationships up. We either build up or sometimes have a nest egg of money that we move into those institutions. They give us a given rate, and we just kind of set it and forget it. This is kind of crucial because at the end of the day, without you doing the due diligence or getting lucky to get a really good banker, you're completely missing out on potentially hundreds to thousands of dollars a year because you're not analyzing, are you in the best fitting accounts? And is your relationship at the best level to get the most out of this bank? Let's get into the psychology of the financial institutions for a second. If I'm a bank and I have deposit customers on hand, they're technically a liability to me. They're an expense. Technically speaking, you putting your money on deposit with me does enable me to do my business lending on the back end, right? Meaning that I'm able to make a profit because you're depositing with me. Those deposits historically have allowed me to go out and lend money, which is where I make money if I'm a bank. But you as the depositor are still an expense to me because I'm paying you interest to attract you as a depositor. So my goal, technically speaking, is going to be to do just enough to attract your deposits and leave it where it is. I'm only going to want to pay you more if you're adding even more value. So let's get into what that looks like. If you're a banking client and you go into your financial institution, you will notice there's tier levels to your relationship. And I want to give you some insights of what I'm talking about. I want to give you a visual. So let me pull up a relatively current deposit rate sheet from Bank of America. This is a large national institution and a really good example of what I'm talking about. This is Bank of America's relatively recent rate sheet, okay? As you can see on this rate sheet, you have standard rates, you have gold, you have preferred or platinum, you have platinum honors. So you have standard rate with, and then you have interest rate booster. This, and then you go all the way to the right, depending on where you're sitting on your screen, maybe your left, your banking rewards for wealth management. You see the rates continue to incrementally increase. Now, mind you, the rates are absolutely atrocious. That aside, though, you see the standard rate is only 0.03, gold is 0.04, platinum is 0.05, platinum honors 0.06. And the wealth management, the banking relationship with wealth management, likely meaning that you have investments with them at a certain bracket as well, is at 0.06 at their highest rate as well. Now, let's step back for a second. You see these tier levels. This is where things get interesting. Banks are trying to incentivize you to expand your relationship. Go back to the helm of what I just talked about. Your deposit relationship doing nothing extra is generally allowing the bank to get some kind of service fees or some other different types of fees for banking with them. But mostly they're getting their profit out of lending that money out. Now that has changed since COVID. These banks really don't need much of anything on deposit to lend anymore. But let's just stick to the general narrative because that's been the case for decades, okay? Now, You see the different tier levels in those relationships. That means that they're looking for you to attract more and more of your deposits. Obviously, with those rates, they're probably not going to make a lot of progress. But again, we're not going to get distracted with that. It's just an example. So they're trying to attract more deposits. Cool. Let's just say you go for it and expand your deposit relationship. Your standard rate is basically going to mean that you may have a savings with them with no checking account. They base their relationship rates, almost every bank does it off of their checking account, believe it or not. That is considered the relationship mechanism, the foundation for private banks. You will notice with credit unions is savings accounts. So pay attention to those differences. Now, your checking account means standard savings rate means you may have a savings with them with no checking account. You have a bare bones relationship. They're going to pay you the worst rate out of their bunch. When you get over to the middle bracket or the middle tier where they start talking about the platinum tiers, you got gold, you got platinum and platinum honors. That means you likely have a checking account. You have a savings with them. And now the savings is probably incrementally growing with balances. All right. We're not going into the weeds on Bank of America on like what their tier levels are because I don't want to take too much time in the video. But we'll just assume the first bracket is maybe $10,000. The next bracket, we'll call it 25. The next bracket is 50. You'll see the rate is growing incrementally. Okay. Then we get over to the wealth side. Maybe you have no savings, or let me double back. You have a checking, you have a savings, but the savings doesn't have a ton in it. But maybe you have a $50,000 to $75,000 or $100,000 investment portfolio with them. They're going to pay you the top rate for that. So let me know in the comment section so far if you're following where this is going. Basically, what's going on is the more you have in a relationship, the more the bank is paying you. This is why it's important not to have 50 different banking relationships and you're spreading out $10,000 or $5,000 across 10 different banking relationships. You're not doing yourself any justice. You spread your banking relationships out based on your financial positioning. When you have the assets to maximize each of those banking relationships, or at least get some real substance out of them. You spreading out $1,000 across 10 or 15 different banks at $100 a pop or $75 a pop is doing nothing for you. So you want to be mindful of how you're setting up your deposits, okay? Now, let's get into the psychology a little further. We see the different tier levels. We know they want to attract more deposits or investment relationships. Cool. Why? Why do banks want more than what you may have initially stashed with them? Let's get a quick breakdown on why that is. The first thing is stable funding. We already talked about the fact that banks lend out your money on deposit historically out for mortgages, credit cards, personal loans, etc. So that's the first thing. It's a stable form of funding. Predictable liquidity. So you keeping liquid money funds on hands is kind of liquidity for that financial institution. And the longer, the more they can attract in those deposits and the longer you let them stay, the better off the bank is in the liquidity department. The next thing is going to be they are a lower cost of acquisition for client. So if I can get you to expand your existing relationship by twofold, right? Maybe you go from 15,000 to 30,000 because I gave you a more attractive rate. Technically speaking, I expanded my banking relationship or even doubled my client book relationship if I'm the bank without having to attract a new customer. I just had to pay a little bit more on the rate to double the relationship capacity that you were bringing to me. Does that make sense? So I saved a lot of money. Not that I'm not still trying to get new clients, but I did save a lot of money by doubling the rate versus what it would have took to get somebody brand new with $15,000 in that example. So that's another big point that we have to keep in mind is that banks are paying money to attract clients. So if they can get one client to bring over more money and stay longer, that's more value for them. The next layers is going to be the more they get you to attract, the less likely you are to leave. It kind of piggybacks off the second one. Banks aren't looking for churn. They're not looking for you to come in, cash that big check, and then get out of there in 30 to 60 days. That does nothing for the bank. So they're structuring their end of the relationship to attract and keep you long term. They're not trying to one hit a quitter. They're not trying to make you a fling. They're looking to have a longer term relationship with you because it's more profitable for them in the long term. So to put an example on it, $1,000 can walk out of the bank pretty easily, but $50,000 stays a lot longer because the larger the deposit relationship, maybe even the investment relationship, the stickier the relationship is, the less likely, even though we have a lot of technology and means to move money pretty effectively, fast nowadays, ultimately, psychologically for us as clients, we don't tend to want to move our money easily. The bank really has to rub us wrong for us to want to take $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 out at one time. It's just not common for us. So that's that end of the spectrum. If you have an investment relationship, banks love that, because now they get to make management fees, they get to get trading revenues, they get long-term retention, because again, these are not easy relationships to move. So on top of the deposit side, if you're in the Bank of America's wealth management tier, again, they're going to pay you a competitively top rate because they're getting other forms of revenue out of your relationship without necessarily having a nickel and dime you per se. They're making good money that you're getting value from at the same time. It's an exchange. So this is the fundamental premise of why banks don't pay everybody the same rate, because as a client, you're more or less valuable by how much of a relationship you have, deposit or investment, and you're more valuable of a client or stickier of a client if you have the means, or if you're being attracted by the right rates, you're a stickier client, which is more profitable for the bank. The bank is going to prefer to get really good, sizable clients that will stay longer than attracting a bunch of new clients with many of them turning over quickly. They're not looking for, nor is it profitable for their business model to have churn and burn clients constantly coming in. This is why credit card changes have been coming in the way they have, but that's a different video we'll cover at another time. So let me know in the comment section if this makes sense. If you want the VIP top rate that banks offer, you have to be willing to move over more money on deposit, sensibly, of course, and then you have to turn around and let that money stay as long as possible. The longer you do this, and the more you show signs that you have other assets outside of the bank, which we can talk about in another video, but essentially, when you show signs that you have other assets outside of the bank, other deposits or investments, they're going to get hinted at, especially in today's data-driven world, and start to market and promote better rates and bonuses to you. This is a little trick that can help you make a lot of extra money, to be completely honest, is starting healthy relationships with banks, but then transacting your money in a way that indicates to that bank that you have other outside assets. Or sometimes just connecting with a banker at one of these institutions and telling them you have outside assets. They're going to ask you. This is going to lead the bank to drum up specialized marketing on rates and bonuses to attract more of your relationship, because banks profit better the healthier and the bulkier and the stickier that relationship is. Let me know what your banking relationships are looking like. How relatable is this for you? Have you noticed that banks target you more when they think that you have more going on? Have you moved money over to a bank in the last, whatever recent window of time because the rate increased or there was a bonus offer that you want to take advantage of? Comment down below. Let me know if this turned a light bulb on for you, where now you're thinking about restructuring your banking relationships to attract better rates on your deposits. Get in the comment section down below and let me know. I want to see what your experience has been when it comes to your banking relationships and your deposits and getting the best rates possible. But other than that, I want you to comment down below, leave your thoughts down below, like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel so the channel can continue to support you. Also, get in the description section down below. You have an opportunity to connect with me on Instagram, putting out a lot of content there, and some content that's unique that won't be on my YouTube channel, so we can keep up with some of the moving parts going on in the financial markets and the economic landscape around us, so we can keep our money in motion and keep everything growing and your net worth increasing. Other than that, I want each and every one of you to stay focused, stay in motion. I'll see y'all soon.